Grab a warm drink, find a comfy spot, and settle in. Today, we're embarking on a journey to uncover the stories, the laughter, the struggles, and the triumphs that make up one's family. I'm your host, Ben, and I'll take you up one's family tree and all the history of one's family. Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Ben. This will be episode 1. I've been talking about it for a while. And I wanted to get to know the other side of my family, my dad's side of the family. So about a little while ago, I had this idea for this family tree project because Jason the Whimsy has a podcast in which we have Liam, my sisters, my mom, my grandmother on my mom's side. But then I'm like, well, what do we do about the dad's side? And I'm separating it only in that side of the family is amazing and unique in their familyness. So I thought it would be fun to kind of get because there's so many of us. And today for my first show, I have cousin Gelaine. How are you doing, Gelaine?
Wonderful. Thank you for asking.
So I like this idea of this podcast because I have the one side of the family that I do on the regular podcast, but this one I like because there's so many people, so many stories, and there's so much stuff that I don't know. So a very quick history about me in that side of the family was me and Rhiannon came up for the summers in like the 90s. No, like in the late 80s into the 90s for like probably 8 or 10 years.
Long time.
And that was the only time we've ever been exposed to that side of the family. So I would like to get to know more of you guys because you guys all lived together for years, right?
Yes.
Whole side of the family?
Yes.
Out in El Paso. So, what were your first thoughts when I called you with this random idea? Now, I'm going to have to preface this with everybody. Sorry that it took this idea to call you because we haven't really talked since we saw each other, unfortunately, for 2 funerals. And then there's no excuse for me not to have reached out before that. So this is kind of my way of reaching back out to a family that I've always known and always loved me, but haven't really done my part to kind of reach back out to you guys. So what were some of your first thoughts when I came to you with this idea of getting an oral history of our family?
I thought it was super cool. I mean, we're all getting older. My kids have no clue about either side of their families. So it's nice. I mean, there's such a big age gap between my family because my dad was the oldest and Uncle Ben's family because Lord knows how many kids he has. So, I mean, the age gap, I think, is the biggest issue that we had.
Mm-hmm. For sure, because when Rhiannon and I came up, I'll have to get some dates, and I don't know for sure, but we had to have been 8, 9, 10 to maybe 12, 13. And I was born 83. You were born
69. So it's a 14-year difference.
So when we came up to visit, you and I were never hanging out.
No, I was already out of the house by the time you came up.
Right. And there's so many cousins, Abraham and Jason, Fred, and those guys, they were also older. So we really rarely interacted with them and outside of the large family gatherings, which I always found amazing because we loved to gather as a family. So yeah, I think it's going to be a fun and interesting journey over the next however long we do this thing. But there's so many stories. Like I said, we always met up after church, someone's birthday, or just random poker day, or brisket night, just whatever. And it was always 5, 10, 15 people hanging out. And there's so many stories being told that I barely remember. And then, like we're saying, we're all getting older, and I think this is a really fun opportunity to kind of capture some of those stories that we used to tell around the tables or outside and those things. Let's see what else I got here for you.
You're the same age as my nieces.
Yeah?
Yep. 80. They were born 83, 85, and 87.
Yeah. Oh, good Lord.
Yep.
Man, you're old.
They're not my kids. They're my nieces. I was 13 when Netta had her first baby.
All right, so let's build this family tree here a little bit. You are Gelaine, and when is your birthday?
Oh, December 13th, 1969.
Okay.
I'm the last of... So my parents were married. My mom already had 2 children when she married my father in 1964. Okay. And they had 3 children together, my mom and my dad. So they had Renetta that was born in October 7th, 1964, Wendy that was born in October 3rd, 1965, and myself in December 13th, 1969. Okay.
All right. So I interact with you probably more than the rest of them. I can't remember the last time I spoke to the other 2. So you're like 3rd oldest of all the cousins?
No.
There's more.
So Freddie is older than I am.
Okay.
Freddie's older than I am. And then, so it would be Renetta, Wendy, Freddie, then me, then Genesis. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yes, Genesis, and then Esther, then Paula, and then I'd have to look at the other cousins because Uncle Isaac's kids are falling in there somewhere.
Yeah. What I think is interesting as we do this, I want to get like a big, large piece of paper and then literally build the family tree with all the dates and just see how it sprawls out everywhere. Because it has grandma, grandpa on top, then 7 kids, and then they all have like a bunch of kids.
Yeah. Let's see. My dad had 3 kids. Uncle Richard had 4 kids but lost 1. Then Uncle Fred had 3 kids. Uncle Paul had 3 kids. Then Uncle Isaac had 3 kids but lost 1. And then Uncle and Aunt Lily had no children. And again, I don't know how many kids your dad has.
I think the last count we had was 11.
My God.
I know of the 3 he has with Barbara. Me and Rhiannon is 5. Jeffrey we met for that for Grandma's funeral.
It was at
Emily's. Yeah. And then I don't know where the other 5 are.
Yeah. Random people, I'm sure.
So who were your parents? You said Uncle Eddie?
And Jeannie.
And Jeannie. And do we know their birthdays?
Yes, my dad's birthday was 7/6/40. No, 5. May 7th, 1940.
Okay.
And my mom's was September 21st, 1942.
Okay. Oh, that's so funny. And then Eddie was the first.
Yes, my dad was the oldest.
It's always funny listening to him talk about, he took a lot of pride in being the oldest and the era of the family with him, Fred, and then Richard and then Fred, the era. He always toted that those 3 were the best. Like, we were the best. We were the era of the ones.
Well, the funny thing about that is that's my dad's initials, ERA.
Oh, that's so much fun. It's unfortunate that we no longer have your mom and dad with us anymore. So I would love to have had them on here. Uncle Eddie, I think, is part of the reason why I wanted to move so fast with this project, is because there's so many stories that he would tell, and now we'll never have those stories anymore. Don't let me forget, we'll get some favorite stories that you have that he used to tell or situations. But do you know where your father was born, where he grew up, where your mom grew up?
My dad grew up in Pasayan City, the Philippines.
So he was born in the Philippines in
Okay.
in 1940. Okay.
Mhm.
Do we know where your mom was born?
In Oklahoma, in Cleveland, Oklahoma.
Oh, how long was he in the Philippines?
He came over in 1963.
Holy cow! So he lived like a whole life in the
Yeah,
Philippines.
yeah, he grew up in the Philippines.
Oh, 23 years. For whatever
Yes.
reason, I thought they were dolls, like still, like maybe teens.
No, him, Richard, and Fred grew up in the Philippines, and then Paul started high school here in the United States.
Oh wow! I could. Oh, that is super interesting. 23 years he's in the Philippines. What did they do in the Philippines?
They were actually grandma was from a very rich family, and they had a plantation, and they had maids, and my dad didn't know how to do anything, so he pretty much had a very cushy life until he came to the U.S.
Oh, 1940s. So, um, what were Grandma and Grandpa doing at that
Grandpa
time?
was in, Grandpa was in the military.
Which branch?
He was in the army,
Full access. That's right in the heart of World War II.
and that's probably why they came over. That's probably why he brought his family over. When he married Grandma. My all of our all your uncles and aunts, they were U.S. citizens because Grandpa was a U.S. citizen. So
Oh, okay.
when they married, Grandma became a U.S. citizen.
Very cool. So then that makes the transition to come over here a lot easier.
Yes,
Trying to bring 7, 8 people that, that aren't U.S. citizens over.
exactly. No, they were born U.S. citizens because of Grandpa.
Okay. Oh, that is fascinating. So we came from rich folk, and we didn't have to do much. So you were born? Where were you born then?
In Kent, Washington, right outside of Seattle.
Okay, because you were for whatever reason I thought you were like just before they moved. So you were just after they moved. Okay. Oh, we're definitely going to have to get some graphs and charts to figure out where all the dates and times are. Oh, fantastic. That's so interesting.
Yeah, my sisters were born in El Paso. I was born in Kent because my dad was working for Boeing Airlines, and he was the only person non-white that worked for Boeing Airlines at the time.
So when they came over here in the 60s, he was working with Boeing, you said?
No. He got the job with Boeing after he married my mom. Because he had already, like I said, my mom already had 2 kids, so he had an already made family.
Okay.
And then they were married on March 29th, 1964, and Renetta was born in October 7th, 1964. Let's do the math on that one.
Shotgun wedding.
Yeah, right.
Have all the uncles and aunt always lived fairly close to each other? I know Isaac now lives New England area, but you growing up, was everybody together?
Well, somewhat. So Uncle Fred was in the military, and he traveled until he retired. And he retired I think about my freshman year, because then I started going to school with Genesis and Freddie. So they both graduated from Irvin High School.
Mm-hmm.
And then Uncle Isaac, I don't think he may have lived here for a very, very short while, but he ran as quick as he could. He got out of here as quick as he could, which is a good thing. I mean, he's doing. I'm trying. I think they lived here. They did. They lived on Trans Mountain for a while before they had children. Him and Auntie Rose. I think right after they got married, they came back, and then they moved because he was still in the military. He moved on, and that's why they retired where he retired. He is in New Hampshire.
Okay, yeah. And there's so many. Thank God I have so many of these plans, these different conversations. There's so much stuff. Like I can't even wrap my head around everything that you've said so far. Just trying to. The timelines are amazing.
Yeah, like we're getting older, so those timelines are probably not going to stick up here very much longer.
Oh no, for sure. And that's the reason why I want to record it is like, and I don't know when these are going to come out. I'd like to try to get a couple of them like banked and then consistently start rolling them out. But like it's like that's why I want to record because I can't remember anything. I remember talking to Nikki and Rhiannon trying to figure out where certain things were, and I'm like, oh, I completely like I lost 18 to like 23. I lost a huge chunk of time in that frame where I'm like, I know I bought the house and that's it, and I don't remember too much of anything else in between. So I like the idea of just figuring out where everybody was. It's gonna be crazy trying to figure out where everybody moved and left and who got married and when. Grandma and Grandpa were always big. From what I know, they were real big into the church. Were they always big into the church?
I think Grandpa was always big into the church, and
okay, that's fair.
Grandpa came around.
He did it because he's like, if this is what you want, lady, I'll go.
Exactly.
He's like, I'll go for Sunday, but almost nothing else after.
Yes, Grandma was very involved. Grandpa was not. He went on Sundays, and half the time he was sleeping. Just saying. They used to always comment how he would just fall asleep in the pew until it was over.
I think it might be genetic because I can fall asleep anywhere. My dad falls asleep anywhere, and every uncle that ever came over would hang out for a minute. But whenever there was a lull in whatever was happening, they were always sleeping.
Yeah, it's the way it is.
They're always sleeping, and then all the aunts are all hanging out, cooking, and doing their thing. I love it's definitely an older, like it was a different time, very traditional, where it was the boys and the men were doing their thing over here, and the women were in the kitchen. But
well, you know that Grandma did not know how to cook. Grandma did all.
Yes. But she was always in that kitchen doing something.
Smoking a cigarette backwards.
I didn't even know they smoked.
Yes, Grandma used to smoke. She smoked. She just gave it up one day, but she was pretty old before she gave it up.
Probably when we started coming over, they're like, can't smoke in front of the kids that have asthma.
But those kids are smoking now.
Yes. It's so funny is I don't smoke in front of my mom. And then anytime I do a live stream, I have to put the screen up so that way no one sees me smoking. Whoops. All right, so let's talk about you.
Okay.
Where were you born again?
Kent, Washington.
Kent, Washington.
I was the first baby born in the hospital there in 1969. They still have it up on the wall.
No way.
Yes.
So if I go to Kent, Washington, you're like, who the hell is this Gelaine lady?
Yes.
Like, that's my cousin.
That would be me.
Like, it's such a throwaway, like, story that, like, but that's super cool. I love that. We're making history in this family, man.
There you go.
There's a lot of firsts, I'm sure. When did you guys move down to El Paso?
In 1970. I was there for a whopping 6 months before they moved back to El Paso.
Did they have their own place?
We stayed with Grandma and Grandpa for a while. Mm-hmm. And within like 2 weeks, we bought the house on Whimsy.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about you growing up.
Oof. What do you want to know? I was a latchkey kid before latchkey kids existed. My mother went back to work when I started school. My mom went to work, which really broke my heart because she was like the room mother to all the other kids. And I was young enough. I always got to go to all the parties when they used to have parties at schools. And when I started kindergarten, she started working. So I became a latchkey kid.
Did you guys have any traditions or anything like growing up? Like I know Grandma and Grandpa always did a dinner on Sundays, minus the potluck weekends. Anything specific?
We ate dinner together. We ate dinner together every night, and Saturdays and Sundays we ate breakfast together.
TV on or off?
No, we didn't have a TV. We ate in the kitchen.
In the kitchen?
No, in the kitchen. And then we'd play ad-libs afterwards.
What'd you play?
Ad-libs. So you would like ADLIBS, ad-libs.
What is that game?
So you would somebody would be the narrator and they would say, Once upon a, give me a verb, and you would put a verb in there. And then,
yeah, okay.
Okay, so then we would do that.
All right. I think because they have those. They have the same thing. I think they're Mad Libs, the little booklet, and you do the same thing, and then it's a real card trip type game. See what kind of weird, funny story you guys come up with.
Yeah, you could put whatever you want to in there. You just had to put a verb, or you had to put a pronoun, or whatever you want to do. Whatever it says, you put there, and then after you write everything down, then you get to read it like, oh.
Who cooked in the family?
My mom. My mom was the cook.
I don't know if I ever saw Uncle Eddie cooking anything. Ever.
The only thing he cooked was anyhow, which is the Filipino dish.
Did you like mom's cooking? What's your favorite mom's meal?
Chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, corn with cream gravy.
Do you make it the same way she used to?
I do, but she used to make it for me on my birthday every year. That was my birthday dinner.
That's awesome.
With strawberry icebox cake. My mom was an amazing cook. She knew how to bake. She knew how to make bread. She just was an amazing cook.
Which is good because this family loves to eat.
Thanks.
Good Lord, we like to eat.
It's because there were so many good cooks in the family. What could you do to eat?
So, what are your favorite? Some of your favorite memories growing up with your dad?
Oh, my dad was a character. He was a character. I mean, I was probably the closest to my dad growing up, and as we got older, I remained pretty close to my dad. Wendy was always closer to my mom.
Mm-hmm.
So, too many memories. I used to sing him songs. I would change the words if I wanted money. Like, there's a song that goes, "Oh, I need $5 so I can go to the mall, please, Daddy." And it's a Frankie Valli song. So I would input my words in there. And he was a fun guy. The last time I saw him alive, he said, "Could you go to Wendy's?" Or he told me he had COVID. And it was in February of 2020. When did he die? What year are we in right now? 24. So 2021. He died in 21. And he said, "Hey, can you bring me some pancakes from Wendy's?" I said, "Dad, Wendy's doesn't sell pancakes." "Yes, they do. Can you bring me some?" I said, "Dad, I'm going to come to your house. I'm going to make you pancakes." So I made him pancakes, and he called me and said, "I'm still eating your pancakes." I'm like, "Dad, that's been a month ago." "I know, but I froze them, and I have 2 pancakes every morning." I'm like, "I didn't make that many pancakes." He says, "You did." So, okay. Happy-go-lucky pancake guy.
Because now, when did your mother pass? Because she passed before your dad.
In 19. She died August 3rd, 2019.
Okay. So he was, 2 years without her?
Yes. He was sad every day.
Every day.
He was.
Because that's why I need to start talking to you guys more. Because I know that there was. I have nothing.
Well, my parents were divorced and they remarried. My parents divorced when I was in the 10th grade. They divorced when I was in the 10th grade because my dad was kind of he kind of liked to do bad things with other women, and my mom had it. So she divorced him, and they were divorced for a year. And every weekend he would take that 14-hour drive to go see her for one day and then come back to work until she finally, after a year, decided to move back with him. And then they got remarried on, Thanksgiving of one year. I don't know what year it was. And they remarried. And then right before she passed away, probably about a year before she passed away, because the way things are with the healthcare, they divorced again because he could no longer financially take care of her. But if she was divorced, then the state would take care of her. So when she passed, they were not legally married, which is really
sad. Did that bother him?
Yes, it did.
Because
he was really sad about that.
Yeah, help me with the date. So how long were they together?
Oh my God. So I was in 10th grade. That would make me 16. And Renetta would have been 16. She's 5 years older than me, 21 years.
Okay.
And then they were
Oh,
divorced for maybe a year and a half, and then they remarried. And then, but I mean, we never really acknowledged the fact that they were divorced. We always acknowledged the fact that they stayed married.
oh no, for sure. Yeah, you're allowed to have a gap year. That's what you do. That's what you do back then.
They took a
Um,
hiatus.
yeah, it was a break. It was friends before friends. Interesting. What else we got?
Do you know where my name comes from?
I do not know where your name comes from.
So my mom's name was Jeannie Elaine, and Jeannie with the G. And my mom was so depressed that this was going to be her last child. I was going to be her last child. And my dad says, "You're having a girl." She says, "No, I'm going to have a son." He says, "No, you're going to have a girl." He says, "No, I'm going to have a son." He says, "You're going to have a girl and you're going to love her because I'm going to name her after my two favorite women in the world." And so he took the G from Jeannie and put on Elaine and came up with Gelaine. And my middle name is Candida. So I was named after Grandma as well.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I'm
My
named
mom.
after my dad.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't
How
know
many of
why.
y'all? How many of y'all are named after your dad?
Right. Well, and I'll eventually get with him, but of 11, why does the one in the middle get Ben? Like, why wasn't the other four before me or any of the three after me?
I think there's an older one named Ben.
No, there's another Ben?
I'm pretty sure there's one older than you that's Ben.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I'm almost positive about that one.
I don't know if I want to play this game anymore. I thought I was unique. I thought I was special. He's just like, no. He's like, oh, he's like, I don't know, Ben, good enough. I thought there was like I was gonna have a conversation with him and be like, what was it? And I was like hoping there was a dream or something. And he's like, you were the one, the chosen one. No. He's like, roll the dice. There's two of you guys out there.
I am almost 100% positive there's an older Ben, but I could be wrong.
How does that make sense? Well, I mean, to be fair, my dad.
Your dad had lots of secrets. Maybe your mama didn't know there was another Ben. So, when I was born, my mother, in 1969, my mother was so depressed because she wanted a son that in 1969, my mother was in the hospital for 4 hours and they let her go home. And back then, they made them stay for a very long time. They made them stay probably for about 5 or 6 days before they let them go because it wasn't the technology, all the giving birth, the knowledge of childbirth was not where it is at now. So, yeah, my mom left after 4 hours being in the hospital. She had me, got up and walked, and they let her go. She almost gave me up. My dad wouldn't let her. The doctor said, "I'll take that baby if you don't want her." And my dad said, "No." My mom says, "Yes, then we could try again." But my dad wouldn't let her.
Was she serious? She was serious.
She was serious. I could have been a doctor's daughter. I could have been living in Seattle probably. I could have had the best.
No,
but now
we never know. What do you remember of Grandma and Grandpa?
Oh, so much. Grandma loved to sing with her plants. She would just sit at the piano and sing to her plants all day.
Mm-hmm.
I asked her if she would teach me how to play the piano. And so we had about 2 lessons. I said, "I just want to learn this one song." She said, "Nope, you have to learn everything." I said, "No, Grandma, I just want to learn this one song." She said, "Nope, go away." So I never learned how to play the piano. Grandpa loved to play suk suk. He loved playing suk suk.
What is that?
They used to sit around in the formal dining area, not the regular kitchen area, but in the formal dining area. There was a big table there, and they would bet. It was called suk suk. It was kind of like a rummy game, And
Okay.
Grandpa, they would all bring in their money. Grandpa would always win and then dish out everybody's money back to them.
I saw a couple of those games.
Yeah.
They because they arrange it, and then everybody shows up with the same jar they've probably been using for 20 years, filled with whatever loose change that they've had, and they would play like high stakes nickels and dimes for hours.
Yes.
But they all it was really fun because they always had their own little container that they had, and I'm like, I'd sit and watch. I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
I love to play cards, but I never could understand that. And I think that's why they did it. So no one would ever understand how to do it, which is sad. Those kind of legacies should live on forever.
I think I have the legacy of, I think we have a gambling problem genetically.
Oh, yeah, definitely 100%. I mean, I remember every Saturday and Sunday, we would spend the day at the racetrack.
At the racetrack.
Yep. A lot of times the horses got fed before we did.
Yeah, they do like their gambling. I would go to work with Grandpa the last couple of years. So he was doing construction foreman, and he would drive around to all the different sites and
take
place orders. So I'd follow, and then I love the routine. It was always, let's get you a donut, your milk, and then he'd have a bunch of scratchers, and then we'd get to his little trailer at work, and he would just start scratching just like every day. Never remember a win.
About how it is now too with me.
There was a story, I think I got to go with Paul. There was a Vegas story, and if you know it, by all means, please. But I think it was Eddie and Paul went to Las Vegas and lost everything, pawned some stuff, lost it all again, pawned the car, lost it all again, had to call home, and then Grandma had to make sure that the bus ticket was non-refundable, like can't trade for cash or anything. I heard the story once, and it was fascinating to me. Everybody in this family is really good about telling a story, drawing you in, a little bit of exaggeration. But I was hooked when I heard that story. I don't remember all of it, but I think it was Paul. Paul has a gambling problem.
They all have a gambler. I think the only gambler that probably Fred and Uncle Fred, Uncle Isaac, and Aunt Lily just kind of flighty.
Yeah, I caught the bug.
The flighty bug. Yeah, so I mean, when I was young, Grandpa was still in the military. He was still in the Army, and every time he would come home, he would always go take me to get a donut and milk at Dunkin' Donuts, and we'd sit there and we'd talk about how his last tour was and how exciting it was. And Grandma was an awesome seamstress. She was amazing. She made all the uniforms for a local Mexican restaurant called Pancho's here. And I remember she would just be sitting there cutting out pattern after pattern after pattern. And they would come in and she would hand stitch it to make sure they fit specifically to that person.
She would custom make them for everybody?
She would custom make them. And back then, that was in the 70s. So they were pretty gaudy looking, very Hispanic looking, really fluffy, wuffy looking. They got some wild clothes over there.
Yeah.
Very traditional. I shouldn't say that. I should say very traditional.
Okay. She also used to put... Grandpa loved his suspenders.
Yeah.
And he loved his all the shirts had 2 pockets on them. And only in hindsight do I think, like, they're all the same size and type of pocket. Did Grandma put all those pockets on them?
I don't think so. I think he bought them like that because he mostly wore Guayaveras.
Okay.
And you can buy Guayaveras with pockets on them. He was he retired from, I believe he retired from 3 different jobs. from the military, then his second job, and then from the construction. I think it was J.D. Abrams Construction Company is who he worked for.
Do we all work like way too much?
Absolutely.
Or forever?
Yes.
Because your dad was still working, right? All the way up through...
Till he died.
My dad, yeah.
Because
My dad's still working 2 jobs. I'm working 2 jobs.
I work enough for 2 jobs. I'm eventually just going to be walking in the restaurant. I'm going to kill over, and they're going to like put her in the freezer. We're in the middle of a rush. I'm waiting for it.
So before we go, are you married? Have you been married?
I was married for 23 years to my children's father, Mark.
Did I hear it?
Who was my high school teacher. But in the 80s, it was okay.
It's okay.
In the 80s, it was okay.
I don't think it was.
Yeah. 80s was a different time.
80s was a different time. I miss, like, I wasn't, like, hard. Like, I liked everything from the 80s, but I was still, 7 by the time I got out of the 80s. Oh, that's so funny. What are you doing now?
Well, I own a restaurant.
You own a restaurant? What kind of restaurant?
In downtown El Paso, Cajun seafood.
How long have you had it?
Ooh, 13 years.
Good Lord. I like it. I've been there. It's a nice little place.
Have you been to the new one?
Mm,
Were you here for my dad's?
yes.
Okay, then yes, you were at the new one.
Yes. Yeah.
This is our third location. That's why I was asking.
Okay. All the same restaurant, just upgrading each time? Or are you just failing at every restaurant that you own?
No. So
Okay.
at first we were Max Place, and we were a partnership. And then when we moved to the new place, and it's going to be 6 years in July, I became a sole proprietor, and it became Max Downtown.
Okay.
So no failures, just upgrading to better and better things.
Well, good for you. I will definitely come down. I'm trying to schedule eventually. Obviously, I'll get with you. But I'd like to come down, bring the kids, Kelly and her sister. That's Sophie's mom and her sister. And just come up and just just hang out for the weekend.
That would be great. We'd love to have you.
And then whoever's still in town, come on over.
Esther's still here. I think Esther's the only one that's still here. Although either Vivian or Susan is still here. That would be Grandpa's niece and nephews. So they're like our second cousins.
Mm-hmm.
From Grandpa's brother, Uncle Pauline.
And then Paul's still up there. What uncles are up there?
Just Uncle Paul.
Okay.
Uncle Paul, Uncle Fred, Auntie Ruth, Auntie Lily.
All right. Well, that's what I got for you today. Just wanted to do some intro stuff and get my feet wet to figure out what the hell I'm trying to do with this thing. I definitely think I need to unpack some of the dates and some of the things that you mentioned. I gotta go find this other Ben. Who the hell this other Ben is?
I could be wrong.
My dad's gonna call you. He'd be like, "What the hell are you doing?"
That's my secret life. I'm sorry.
Right? Like, I get secret lives, but like, I don't want to be the second Ben. I want to be the OG Ben, not the.
You're already the second Ben. He's the original.
Yeah, but I don't want to be the second of whatever. Like, if I find out that one's a junior, I'm gonna be pissed because I'm not a junior.
Oh, you don't have the same middle name.
Right.
Oh well, then you're
so if that guy's a junior, I'm gonna be pissed.
You're the original. Then you're the original Ben. The original Ben one.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. I'll have you back on again. I'll get some more structure to this thing. I think this is, again, some of this real intro stuff, just to kind of get to know everybody. And then I think we'll structure it a little bit to like specifically to school stories or church stories after we get some intros done and kind of just because there's so much stuff. You got the church, the gambling problems. You got a bunch of us, a bunch of them were military, so it'd be kind of interesting to hear some of those. Now that I realize that there's 23 years in the Philippines, I gotta get with the uncles, my dad, and find out some Philippine stories.
Oh yeah, I think that's why my dad married my mom, because it was during the draft, and he had my mother had a son with her previous marriage, and when he married her, he didn't have to go because he had a son here or something. My dad dodged the draft because with my mom. Yeah, shady motherfucker. That's why they called him Fast Eddie. Always shady.
He's Fast Eddie.
Shady Eddie is what they should have called him.
He's a great guy. He was so much fun. I did have an opportunity to bowl with him and my dad for a year. Your mom went with him. Your dad took your mom everywhere with him. Like he needed her all the time. I bet she was just like, just leave me alone. He's like, no, you gotta come with me to bowling. And then they have their own setup and card game and everything else. He was a guy. Both of them were great people, and I miss them both. So
me too.
I'd like to get to know them more through everybody else, and I'll get back with you again, and we'll iron out more of who these people are. But thank you again for coming on.
You're welcome. I'll be more prepared, and my hair won't look so flat. Oh, I won't look so.
There is a video of this, everybody. You'll never see it, but maybe. I doubt it. All right. Well, you have a good rest of the night. Thanks for hanging out.
You too.
And, I'll keep you updated with whatever I do with these things.
Absolutely. Let me know if you need any more information. I have the information to give you. I'll be more than happy to share.
Definitely. Yeah. Like I said, after I get my feet wet in this a little bit, I'll start structuring things a little bit better, so that way it doesn't sound so shooting from the hip. But
isn't that what we're doing?
Huh?
Isn't that what we're doing though?
Yeah, but I like to
clean it up a little.
No, I'm not going to clean it. I'll have to check out some of the dead. There's not that much dead air, but I'll have to change a couple of things. But for the most part, I don't like to edit because I like to keep things all like legit and genuine and raw. So I'll put this out somewhere on the internet, and people are going to be like, "Well, that's the other Ben," and I'm going to be all like, "All right, well, you have a good night, and we'll figure it out another time soon. Though it'll be soon."
Okay.
Like in the next month. All right.
Let me know.